Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going deep into the heart of KDE Plasma's command line interface, Runner. We've got this research paper all about making Runner even more powerful.
Sounds intense.
It is, by adding something called next action suggestions.
Okay.
Like, you know how your phone suggests apps you might want to use based on like your location or time of day?
Right.
Imagine that, but for anything you do on your computer.
Wow.
All powered by KRunner.
That's a great way to put it. This research really goes deep into how this concept, which they call workflow continuation recommendations, could totally change how Plasma users interact with their desktops.
Okay, I'm already hooked. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's break down the basics for our listener.
Yeah.
What exactly is Runner?
Yeah.
And why is it such a big deal?
Think of Runner as the central hub of your Plasma desktop. It's not just a simple command line. You can launch apps, search for files, browse the web, even tweak system settings.
Really?
All from this one powerful tool.
Wow, like the Swiss Army knife of Plasma.
It is.
The research paper keeps highlighting how Runner is built on this plugin architecture.
Right.
Why is that so important,
Yeah.
especially for developers?
That's the beauty of it. This plugin system means developers can constantly add new features and functionalities to Runner. It's like a playground for innovation, allowing them to really expand what Runner can do.
So that's where these next action suggestions or workflow continuation recommendations come in, right?
Yes.
Imagine Runner being able to predict what you'll do next based on what you're doing right now.
Exactly. These systems are designed to anticipate your next action based on your current context and your past behavior. It's like having a digital assistant that gets to know your workflow inside and out.
That sounds incredibly futuristic. Are there any real-world examples of this type of prediction already in action?
Absolutely.
I'm having trouble picturing it.
You've probably already seen this in action without even realizing it. Think about Amazon's recommendations. They suggest products or content based on your browsing history. Or even Apple shortcuts, which can suggest next steps in your customized workflows. Those are great examples of this concept in action.
Okay, now it's starting to click. So we're taking that smart assistance we see on our phones and bringing it to the desktop,
Right.
but in a much more powerful and personalized way.
You got it. And what makes this so exciting is that Runner's plugin system makes it a perfect platform for implementing these next action suggestions. It means developers can build in this functionality without having to reinvent the wheel.
That's good news for any KRunner developer out there who's excited to dive into this research.
Yeah.
But let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
How would these next action suggestions actually work within KRunner?
Well, the research paper points to machine learning algorithms as the engine behind all of this. Imagine Runner as having this super smart brain that can learn your habits. If you consistently open certain applications together, the system picks up on that pattern and might suggest opening them all at once in the future.
That's seriously cool. But hold on a second. Doesn't that mean my computer would be constantly tracking everything I do? I have to admit, the privacy implications of that are a bit concerning.
That's a totally valid concern, and the research paper actually addresses this directly. It emphasizes how important it is to prioritize user privacy and control. Any implementation of this would need to be completely transparent about what data it's using and give you, the user, the option to customize those settings. Or even disable those recommendations altogether.
So it's about striking that balance between convenience and privacy, making sure you have the control over how much your system knows about your workflow.
Exactly. And we can't forget about user-friendliness.
Right.
Even with the most sophisticated algorithms, those suggestions need to be presented in a way that's clear and easy to understand.
Right.
Otherwise, it could end up feeling more confusing than helpful.
Right. No one wants a cluttered mess of suggestions popping up all over the place. So how can we make sure these suggestions are actually enhancing the KRunner experience rather than getting in the way?
The research paper suggests displaying those suggestions as a prioritized list right within the KRunner window. Think of it like this. You type a command, and beneath your usual results, you see a new section labeled Suggested Actions. It's seamless, integrated right into your workflow.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not just about making KRunner smarter. It's about making it more user-friendly and intuitive, making those suggestions feel like a natural extension of your existing commands.
Exactly. The whole goal is to empower users with these intelligent suggestions, not to overwhelm them with complicated features or disrupt their workflow. It's about making Runner even more powerful and personalized.
Now, I know our listener out there is probably a Runner developer who's eager to start building this out. Where should they begin? Are there any existing Runner plugins that can help them understand the possibilities here?
There's a goldmine of existing plugins that can offer valuable insights for developers who want to dive into this research. While there aren't any plugins specifically designed for next action suggestions yet, we can learn a lot from how other plugins have tackled unique challenges and extended Runner's functionality in clever ways.
Okay, I'm all ears. Can you give us a few examples? I'm curious to see how those existing plugins might inspire a developer thinking about next action suggestions.
Absolutely. Let's take the Runner Uptime plugin as a starting point. This plugin not only displays your system's uptime, but it also lets you customize the trigger word for activating it. That level of personalization really hints at the possibilities for next action suggestions.
So it's not just about the functionality itself, it's about giving users the control to tailor that functionality to their specific needs and preferences. What else can we learn from existing plugins?
Well, think about Emoji Runner. This plugin makes it super easy to find and use emojis. Now imagine taking that concept and applying it to next action suggestions. Could we find creative ways to visually represent those suggestions, making them instantly recognizable and engaging for users?
I love that idea. It's about thinking outside the box and borrowing inspiration from unexpected places. Are there any other plugins that stand out to you?
The VS Code Workspaces Runner is another great example. This plugin lists your recent Visual Studio Code workspaces, making it super easy to jump back into your projects. And it even has a secondary action that opens a file browser directly to the workspace directory.
It's those little touches, those extra layers of convenience that can really elevate the user experience. So by studying these existing plugins, developers can start to see the potential for building out a truly powerful and user-friendly next action suggestion system within Runner.
Exactly. These examples highlight the incredible flexibility and power that KRunner's architecture offers. For a developer looking to create this kind of system, these existing plugins are like a treasure trove of inspiration and practical knowledge.
This is all so fascinating. We've laid the groundwork, explored the possibilities, and even gotten a glimpse into the practical side of things. But now I'm really curious about the different continuation strategies a KRunner developer might consider when building this out. The research paper hints at a few approaches, and I'd love to get your take on them.
Let's dive into that. One approach that really stands out is leveraging contextual awareness.
Okay, we touched on this briefly before, but can you elaborate on how this strategy would actually work, like in practice?
Certainly. So imagine you're working on a presentation in a specific application, let's say LibreOffice Impress.
Okay.
With contextual awareness, KRunner would be able to analyze your current activity within that application.
So it's like watching what I'm doing.
Exactly. It might see that you've just finished creating a slide with a lot of bullet points.
Right.
And suggest a next action, like converting those bullet points into a visually appealing diagram.
Wow, that would be incredibly helpful. It's like Runner is paying attention to what I'm doing and offering intelligent suggestions based on the specific context of my work.
Exactly. It's about moving beyond generic suggestions and providing assistance that's truly tailored to your current task and workflow. Now, another interesting continuation strategy is temporal pattern analysis.
I think I can guess where this is going. It's about Runner learning from my past behavior, right?
You got it. With temporal pattern analysis, Runner would pay attention to the actions you typically take at certain times or days. Let's say you always start your day by checking your email.
Okay.
And then opening a specific project management tool. Runner could learn this pattern, and as soon as you log in, it would suggest opening those two applications for you.
So Runner would become like a personalized digital routine manager, helping me get my day started efficiently.
Exactly. And this strategy can extend beyond just the start of your day. It can be applied to any recurring patterns in your workflow.
Now, you mentioned another strategy earlier, sequential analysis. How does that one fit into the picture?
Sequential analysis is all about understanding the order in which you typically perform actions. Let's say you always follow a specific sequence when working on a coding project. You open your code editor, then your terminal, and then a web browser for documentation. Runner, through sequential analysis, would learn this sequence and suggest the next step in your workflow automatically.
So it's about Runner becoming attuned to the flow of my work, guiding me through complex tasks with intelligent suggestions. These continuation strategies are all so fascinating, and I can see how they could revolutionize the way people use Runner.
I agree. The potential here is immense, and it's an exciting area for developers to explore. But remember, it's not just about implementing these strategies. It's about implementing them thoughtfully and ethically.
That's a crucial point. We need to make sure that these suggestions are truly helpful and empower users rather than becoming intrusive or limiting their choices.
Exactly. The goal is to enhance the user experience, not to dictate it.
As we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious to hear what advice you'd give to a KRunner developer who is excited to start building out these next action suggestions.
My advice would be embrace the power of these continuation strategies, but approach them with a user-centric mindset. Think carefully about the context in which these suggestions will be presented, the data you'll use to train your algorithms, and the level of control you'll offer users. Remember, the most successful implementations will be those that strike a balance between intelligence and intuitiveness, providing helpful guidance without sacrificing user autonomy.
Those are wise words. And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive into continuation strategies has sparked your imagination and inspired you to think about the future of intelligent interfaces. In the next part of our episode, we'll shift gears and explore the ethical considerations surrounding next action suggestions. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring this fascinating world of next action suggestions for Runner.
Yeah.
From the technical nuts and bolts to the design of the user interface.
Right.
And those clever continuation strategies.
Right.
But as we go deeper into this realm of intelligent assistance, there's another layer we need to unpack: the ethical considerations.
You're absolutely right. It's all too easy to get caught up in the excitement of innovation and overlook the potential ethical implications.
Right.
When we're talking about systems that anticipate our actions, we're stepping into some pretty sensitive territory.
So for our KRunner developer out there listening in, what are some of the ethical red flags they should be mindful of as they embark on this journey?
Well, first and foremost, transparency is key. Users need to understand how their data is being collected, used, and stored. It's crucial to be upfront about what information is being fed into those suggestion algorithms and how it's being processed.
That transparency builds trust, letting users feel confident that their data is being handled responsibly.
Absolutely. And beyond transparency, we need to give users control over their data. They should have the option to opt out of data collection altogether, or to customize what types of data are being used to generate those suggestions.
It's all about empowering users to make informed choices about their privacy and data sharing.
Precisely. And as developers, we need to be incredibly mindful of the potential for bias in our algorithms. Remember, machine learning models are trained on data.
Right.
And if that data reflects existing biases in society, the suggestions they generate could perpetuate those biases.
For instance, if the algorithm is trained on data from a limited demographic, it might not generate suggestions that are relevant or sensitive to users from other demographics.
That's a crucial point. We need to work actively to mitigate bias in our algorithms by using diverse data sets and ensuring that the suggestions are fair and inclusive.
It's about creating a KRunner that's not just smart, but also equitable and respectful of all users.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the broader issue of user autonomy. We need to be careful that these next action suggestions don't end up limiting user choices or steering them down predetermined paths.
It's a delicate balance, isn't it? We want to provide guidance and efficiency without encroaching on users' freedom to explore and make their own choices.
Precisely. The ultimate goal is to empower users, not to dictate their actions or constrain their options. We want to build a KRunner that enhances their autonomy, not diminishes it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of next action suggestions for Runner, what's your final takeaway for our developer out there who's eager to take on this challenge?
I'd say this. Embrace the incredible potential of next action suggestions, but always proceed with a sense of responsibility. Consider the ethical implications at every step of the development process. Engage with the community, get feedback, and strive to create a runner that's not only innovative, but also ethical, inclusive, and truly user-centric.
Those are powerful words to end on. And to all our listeners, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and given you a glimpse into the exciting and sometimes challenging future of intelligent interfaces. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.